Hello, everybody. This is Calvin Smith here with the Social Zee Franchisee Happy Hour again. So glad you guys took a few minutes to listen to our conversations here. This evening, I have Joe and Lou with us, two franchisees from different parts of the country and very different businesses, but I'm sure we'll learn a lot from both of them. So to kick us off, we'll follow our normal process. And Joe, if you wouldn't mind giving us your name, the brand that you work with, that you own, where you're located, your years in business, what your team looks like, and some information on your financials.
Sure. I'm Joe Golio with Pool Scouts. I own a Pool Scouts franchisee. I have 3 territories. I'm down here in the Fort Myers, Lehigh area, North Naples, and Sarasota areas. We've been in business. We're starting our 3rd year right now. I have a team of 4 people, and we're looking to exceed 300,000 this year in our 3rd year or 2nd full year.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. And Joe, are you drinking anything this evening?
I have my Jack Daniels and Diet Coke.
Awesome. I like the Jack and Coke. Perfect. Lou, how about you can give your introduction?
Sure. I'm Lou Caracappa. My franchise is called P3 Cost Analysts. We're an expense reduction firm, so we don't have a physical presence anywhere. So as a result, we don't have territory. So the way we distinguish who our customers are and our targets is by using Salesforce. So if I put, Joe Golio and his company in my Salesforce, then he's mine until I decide to abandon him, give him up, or sign him. So I've been doing this for a little bit over a year. Don't have anybody working with me because we're all solo. We're just sales finders. So P3 has employees and also auditors who are like ourselves, their franchises or their business partners that do the actual work. So we get paid a percentage of the savings that we find for our customers. So this franchise is not really a brick and mortar franchise, and it doesn't require a lot of capital. Looking at returns, I like to earn my investment back. So haven't been able to do that yet, but I'm hopeful that, as COVID hopefully disappears, we'll start getting some more traction and some more customer business.
Lou, are you drinking anything this evening?
No, I'm actually mainlining heroin. No, I'm kidding. I've got a club soda. It's actually vodka straight, but
there you go. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for giving that introduction. So I am drinking this evening. I finished off the last bottle of Jefferson's that was in our shop here. You can see it's an empty bottle now. Usually we keep a pretty full cover, but I've been traveling the last few weeks. I think the guys have been ending the day here at the shop or something, and so that was the last thing we had left. Perfect. We'll keep it moving here. So, Lou, why don't you tell us what you did before franchising and why did you buy a franchise?
Okay, happy to tell you, Calvin. So, before I was a franchise owner, I started my career as an auditor. I was a CPA, still am a CPA, and I spent my career first in public accounting, doing audits for the old Coopers and Lybrand. Then I went into internal audit with several different broker dealers, and for an audit, I kind of transitioned to compliance, and compliance deals with the brokerage rules and regulations. Did very well in that career. I mean, Wall Street, until the financial crisis, they paid a heck of a lot of money for our services, and we were very well compensated. I did 13 years at Bank of America, which was great, and it really was well suited for my personality. Just that corporate culture was great for me. I got a lot of opportunities there. Then after the financial crisis hit, kind of lost all my support groups. So all the people that helped me, supported me, made sure that I got paid, made sure that I got opportunities, they either were terminated or decided to move on. And then eventually I got laid off. I did last till 2013. From there, I tried to go into business at that point. Didn't work out. I went and I worked for another broker dealer called RBS out of Stamford, Connecticut. 5 months into that job, they announced that they were cutting down, and they went from about 2,500 people in Stamford down to 400. And I think I was 420 when I walked out of the door there in the beginning of 2018. Then I joined one of my colleagues who was at SocGen, which is a big French bank, for those of you that are not familiar, doing the same thing. We're doing compliance testing work. And then after 18 months, I was informed that my job was being relocated to Montreal, and they thanked me for my service. And I said, well, I'm going to turn 60 pretty soon. I don't think there's a lot of opportunities left for somebody of my age and my position. And I decided that I wanted to do something else, and that's when I started exploring some franchises.
So Lou, thanks for going through that. So it sounds like the very high level, senior level background. I noticed on your profile that you also went to Stern. You got your master's degree at Stern in New York, is
yes.
that right?
Yeah, I went to Stern School of Business, have an MBA from there.
Thanks for running through that, Lou. Joe, tell us a little bit about what you did before your franchising business and why you bought a franchise specifically.
Yeah, so for about 25 years, I worked for McDonald's, a franchisee. I worked for 2 different operators during that time, and I was a director of operations, and I ran about 6 restaurants for a gentleman for a very long time, and made them a lot of money, built them a big business, and then you get to a point where you can't go anywhere else. You're either you just keep doing the same job or you can't really grow. So I looked at expanding my horizons, and it's kind of tough to transition jobs, and so I said, well, if I'm going to start over, let me work for myself. I've seen a lot of my friends who were a similar age and been in the business for a long time. When franchisees sell and they transition ownership, they tend to get rid of the leadership as well. They want to bring in their own guys, their own leaders, and then you're stuck. I have friends who are traveling around the world, around the country, just trying to find a similar job. So I figure if I'm going to do that, I'm going to start over. And since I have a background in franchising, the franchise model, I was very comfortable with, and I knew I could be successful and build a business in a, quick amount of time rather than starting from the bottom and work my way up. So I spent about a good year and a half looking at different franchises and different models before I landed with Pool Scouts. I think at the time Pool Scouts was new. They were just coming into the market around 2016 when I started investigating. And I liked their branding. I liked the leadership they had there at the Buzz. And it was a good fit. It's nice I can work out of my house. So I have my family works with me. So it's a good fit for us. I got 2 sons that work with me. My wife helps out. So it's a family business, and it's been fun. It's been great.
So that leads us into our next question, Joe. What specifically, attracted you about Pool Scouts when you're doing your due diligence? Why did you land on Pool Scouts instead of buying a McDonald's?
Well, even if I had the money, I don't think I'd ever buy a McDonald's franchise because even though you buy it, you're basically working for them, and they're telling you what to do and how to do it and when to do it. They tell you what to invest and how to invest and how much to invest. And if you can't keep up, they'll just find somebody else to take care of that for you. So, I looked at different models, and the biggest thing I was looking for was I had 3 main criteria when I was looking for franchises, and I didn't want to have a brick and mortar because you really can't compete with the internet. So I had something that needed to not be relying on the internet, something that can't be automated and replaced, and something I could work from home and have, flexible lifestyle, something that's not a 24/7 business, like I was in the restaurant industry. So as I looked at different models, I can't come back to Pool Scouts. I looked at some other pool franchises as well, but they didn't have the same marketing and branding, that kind of fit. So that was the biggest thing for me was the marketing and branding and the back office support you're going to get. And Buzz Franchise Brands, who's the parent company, they already had 3 brands going at that time. So they were a proven model, which is really why I liked them.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Lou, same question for you. Why did you buy your specific brand? And let me preface this, Lou, where you probably don't know this, but me and Aaron Stahl are pretty good friends, and so I won't share anything of that.
You should have had Aaron on. Aaron is a great guest. He did a business power hour with me about 2 months ago, based in Long Island, and because he's from Arkansas, people loved him. He really got good response. Yeah, I actually saw Aaron 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. We had dinner. Great guy. So To answer the question, and I'm probably going to take too much time as I usually do, like Joe, I wanted discretionary time. I wanted something that I could do at home. I didn't want brick and mortar. I didn't even want employees. I wanted something that I could do on my own. And, I'm at a stage of my life where, making the maximum amount of money is not the main driving goal. I wanted to have some fun money. And I wanted to still do something. I wanted to help people. And as I looked at all these different franchises, there were some that were really interesting, but they still kept coming back to, okay, one that I liked was this thing called Music Go Round. I don't know if you're familiar with that franchise. They sell vintage guitars. I'm a guitar player. I would love it, being around guitars all day, but you need a 2,500 square foot store and you need like $150,000 of inventory. And the problem is they wanted me to open in suburban, New York City area, where rents are $65 plus a square foot. The guys who were making money in that franchise were in places like Aurora, Colorado, where rent is $15 a square foot. A vintage Les Paul or Stratocaster costs the same wherever you are in the, to buy and to sell. It's on the internet. You can find the price, and all of the profit margin would have been cut into by the amount of rent. So I just didn't want to invest that much money. And as I said, I want to do something that I could do on my own, have discretionary time, and, not that complicated a business really to run. It's basically cold calling, cold emailing people to see if they want to save some money. So that was a good model for me. And I was familiar with auditing because that's what I did. So I thought, I've sold audits my whole life. I can still sell them.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's some similarity there between both of you gentlemen where you wanted to own your own business, be your own boss, kind of get out of the corporate lifestyle, which you both had great careers in. But I heard both of you say you didn't want to compete with the internet. Like you didn't want to have the brick and mortar, which, I think all of us who have looked at different franchises, Chick-fil-A is probably one that we all kind of thought about at one time, right? But that brick and mortar and that overhead and that investment is a lot riskier than something like a P3 or a Pool Scout.
Honestly, for P3, if I closed up tomorrow, financially, it wouldn't take a big hit. If you close your Chick-fil-A tomorrow, you've got a big financial hit that could probably ruin you.
Yeah. I don't think Chick-fil-A would be too happy about it either, right?
And I think Chick-fil-A is mostly a joint venture, so you really don't own it. You just have your initial investment, which they can just show up at any point in time, give you a check, and have a nice day.
Gentlemen, our next topic of conversation, and you guys are doing a great job of keeping the conversation flowing here. Let's talk about what you're bad at as a business owner. And are you surprised that you're bad at it now that you have left the corporate world and own your own business? And what are the things that you're doing to kind of overcome those gaps and those shortfalls in your own personality or skill set?
Well, I think initially we our biggest challenge probably was pricing and setting the right price for our services, because you go into business thinking, this is a good price, or sometimes I think initially we thought we can get a higher price, and then it just wasn't for the market, and then we had to lower our pricing, and then all of a sudden you're too low. It's just finding that right price so we can be competitive and profitable. And sometimes I think we've learned over time is you're probably better off having less customers with a higher rate than having more customers at a low rate, because you just can't make up that gap in price. And it was surprising to us because we, having a background in restaurants and pricing and everything else, you really kind of think you're going to be great at it. But we're working on it. We're fine tuning it. I have a spreadsheet I go through almost weekly now and just kind of see where I'm at pricing versus cost, and just to make sure I'm moving the needle in the right direction.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned something there, Joe, about you can go lower on your pricing, take a little bit less margin, and grow the top line. But the only one that benefits is the franchisor, right? They're still getting the royalties, but you're not necessarily making any more money, right?
Exactly.
Figuring out how to drive your profit and your revenue is just as important as a franchisee. Cool. Lou, what about you? What is something you struggle with?
Couple of things. The first one that I'll mention is I was not fishing in the right pond when I first started. So I signed a bunch of customers. I took the low-hanging fruit, connections that I had, local places where I knew I could talk to the people. And, we did the reviews, and the reviews really didn't turn up a lot of savings. So therefore didn't make a lot of money for myself or for P3. So, now I'm learning, where the right customers are and how to try to get to the right customers. The other thing that I'm really not good at, and I don't like it, is cold calling. I would much rather send somebody an email or a LinkedIn than get on the phone for a couple of reasons. Not because I'm shy, because I'm not. It seems like it's a waste of time because nobody answers their own phone anymore. So you're faced with the dilemma: do I leave a message, or is it like dating? Do I keep calling and calling until the person picks up the phone? So in the days when I dated, there was no caller ID, there was no voicemail. So if you didn't get the girl you were trying to reach, you just didn't leave, you just hung up and you tried again in an hour or another day, whatever. That's kind of what it comes down to. But, they have caller ID, so they know you're like stalking them. So I'm not really good at that. I need to get better. Because the thing with cold calling is if you actually do get through, it becomes a much more efficient process. You get to talk to the person. You get to, give them a little flavor of what you do, and they will tell you, no, I'm not interested, or, oh yeah, I might be interested, or that you could set up a meeting. So it compresses the frame. If you're doing this dripping campaigns through email or, whatever, it's a longer commitment, and it ends up probably the same in a lot of cases. So yeah, that's what I'm struggling with, but, I'm going to dedicate myself to doing it. As soon as I'm giving myself like till Labor Day, and then I'm going to start trying to, reach customers in a different way.
That brings up something interesting, Lou. One of the reasons I think we all buy franchise brands is because we feel like there will be some sort of model for lead generation or business generation, right? Like there's some sort of playbook that we probably wouldn't have on our own. What do you guys feel like for your respective brands? How do they do on lead generation where they're helping, provide some business for you to kind of get going in the early days?
So in my case, Calvin, there is no lead generation, and you can talk to Aaron about that. You're basically on your own. So they give you a little prep. So when you join and before you go to training, they say, okay, list out 50 potential contacts that you have, or 50 companies that you want to target in your area, and they'll review the list, and they'll look at the websites of those companies and those entities and tell you, yeah, this one's good, this one is not good, and tell you why. And, encourage you before you even come to training, reach out to 10 or 15 or 20 of those people, see what you get. So I had a little success, as I said, because I had some low hanging fruit. So I had some meetings set up, but, that's one of the frustrations of this particular franchise, is that there's not a heck of a lot of help with lead generation. So the people who are struggling will continue to struggle. I would think it's in the company's best interest to support everybody, make sure that, everybody gets to eat, because then, they make, the better I do, the better they do. So I don't know what's coming down. They did some sales training, but it's not the same as, having a funnel and a pipeline for leads.
Joe, what about you? How's Pool Scouts do on that front?
Well, Pool Scouts, they have a pretty good background, because Buzz Franchise, the parent company, their direct mail was their original business. So they already have some built-in connections to get you started with. Like the first year we did a heavy direct mail campaign. They got me linked up with V Digital for digital marketing. So I had Google pay-per-click right away. They set the website up, and they back office the SEO every month. So we get a monthly report on how our Google ranking is, what they're adding to the website. So they're always refreshing our website to help keep our organic traffic up and keep our Google up. And then I was also fortunate, before I launched, we got to go to the convention. So I got to meet all the other franchisees face to face before I launched. And I get to kind of learn from them what worked, what didn't work, what things they're doing that generate leads. And one of the biggest things they came back with right away was, hey, join a BNI group. And I had like, what the hell is that? So I got back home. The first thing I did was look into it, find one. I joined right away, just as I started. And it really kind of helped me grow my business and get your name out there. And I'm now part of I think 2 or 3 different networking groups. So, that's a big part, just getting your name out there. So they helped a lot with that. They also have partnerships with companies that kind of refresh our Facebook page for us and put some automated things. Because for me, I'm not big on social media for the most part. So having them kind of automate that for me is tremendous, because I can't spend time on Facebook. I just don't get it.
Yeah. So it sounds like two different two different levels with the franchisor, right? So Joe, you kind of got this plug and play type of marketing system where, you don't have to worry about that. That's not part of the things that you spend time on maybe in the business, and you're focused on the other part. And Lou, where that's really where your time is right now, is like, I've got to figure out how to generate opportunities and great customer funnels, right? So thanks for running through that, guys. Good conversation. Next thing I want to talk about, and Lou, this will be interesting for you since the time that you started your business, but obviously our world has changed over the last 17, 18 months. What I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts on, or how has your business changed, and what's changed the most since March of 2020, and COVID happened, and how has that impacted your businesses, if it has?
Well, I started my business during the COVID crisis, the first critical mass week, if you recall, when all of the sports were canceled. I was actually in Greensboro, North Carolina, for training, and the ACC tournament was there. And, all the fans from the different ACC schools, they were in my hotel, and they canceled the tournament with people on the court. So all hell was breaking loose, and I have nothing to compare it to because, I have my previous life where I was in an office in New York City every day. And that, if we work from home, my last job, we were made to work from home one day a week because they didn't have the desk space. I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore, because I think a lot of people are going to ask and request to work from home. And then in other jobs, it was a perk. Every once in a while, you tell your boss, hey, I can't come in on Friday. I need to work from home. And you had the capability, but it wasn't encouraged, and, you couldn't do it that often. So when we were trained that, the best methods for this was face-to-face meetings, go to people's places of business, drop off information, leave your number, try to follow that up with a phone call. That's how the old school guys did it, and they were successful. And guys doing this for 30 years, making a tremendous amount of money. That's not the reality. First of all, in New York City, you can't walk into any business because every building is controlled. If you don't have an ID card and you don't have an appointment, you're not getting in the building. So drop off is not part of what I do. But the good side of it was, because I work for global companies, in the past I was used to Skype meetings and other, teleconference type meetings. So that wasn't, something new for me. I knew how to use it. I knew the capabilities, the limitations of it. But I decided probably early on to embrace the social media. So I campaign through LinkedIn, and I have, customers and potential customers all over the United States. I got a customer through LinkedIn who is in somewhere in Indiana, has a retail carpet stores, 14 stores, and, we're doing some work for them. In the old world, I don't know if I ever would have thought or had the ability to reach out to somebody like that. So, yeah, I think while it closes some doors locally, I think it opens a lot of doors nationally for you. And again, since we don't have the territorial restrictions, can really, operate anywhere.
And Joe, you'd been in business for a year and a half, almost 2 years?
We were just finishing, I think, our first year when COVID started. And we were actually, growing really fast the first year. So when COVID started, we were a little bit concerned how it was going to affect us. We weren't sure what was going to happen. We heard people not working, and we were concerned people were going to cancel their accounts because they need to save money. And it really didn't happen. As a matter of fact, the opposite happened. We had a lot of people that were home. They saw their current pool guy show up, not do anything and leave. And they go, hey, what am I paying this guy for? So we started getting more customers because the other companies that were kind of slacking on what they were doing got caught. The other thing that really kind of surprisingly happened was there was a boom in the pool business. People were home. People are building pools. The pool industry is blowing up right now, and to the point where they just can't keep up. If you want to get a pool right now, it might take a year for you to get your pool built and up and running. So, and in Florida, we're like the pool capital of the world. So it's been tremendous. And the other thing that really kind of helped us out was, I guess to my benefit, a couple of the franchisees had trouble due to COVID. They couldn't maintain or run their business. And I was able to pick up the Sarasota market because of that. And I just picked up the Naples market this year because of that same kind of situation. So it's been wonderful for us. But it was tough and it was challenging. I've been fortunate My people have been healthy. I had COVID early on, but we got through it. But it's been great. It's been good for us, so I can't complain.
Sure. I talk to franchisees all over the country, every week, and it's very market specific, right, on how they were impacted, but also very industry specific, So, Joe, you and I being in Florida, things were, our businesses, we had, the market kind of flourished here where others maybe saw a retraction, and like Lou in New York, that your world changed completely, right? Not just from a business standpoint, but from a quality of life. And so it's interesting to see how it impacted the different pockets of the country, but also different industries for sure. That brings up an interesting conversation I was having earlier this week, and Lou and Joe, what do you guys think about, what's happening in the next 6 months or 12 months with our markets? Are we worried about a retraction or some sort of bubble popping, or do we think we're still going to have the growth that we've been seeing?
Well, I can tell you this I had a meeting yesterday with a realtor in our area, and he was kind of giving us a background on what's going on. And basically they're saying, 1,000 people almost a week are coming down to Florida. And in the Collier County area down where I'm at, there's only 1,000 homes on the market. And the average price of the home has gone up $100,000 over last year. So, and they can't build them fast enough. So the market, I don't think it's going to stop, at least in Florida, anytime soon. Everyone's coming down to Florida because I guess our governor's a little bit looser than the other ones, and rolling the dice. So everyone's coming to Florida just to survive and live. So it's been good for us.
Lou, what are you seeing in the forecast in your business? What's your thoughts there?
Believe it or not, even though there seems to be an exodus from New York, the real estate values continue to go up in the city and in some of the, the more desirable places to live, the Westchesters, the Nassau counties, some of the towns in Connecticut. So I'm a little bit confused about that. But I know like the New York City real estate market is up. Even rentals like for office space is up, which is shocking. So I don't know if that's going to last. I don't know if there's a bubble. What I do think is that there's going to be maybe more of a demand for what I do, because if you look at the policies coming out of Washington now, there's a lot of inflationary pressures. So as costs go up, I'm hopeful that, companies are going to look for ways to manage those expenses so you can't not have your raw materials. So like, for example, in the building industry, all of the wood products and different things are, way up in price. So where can you cut? Where can you manage? Well, you lay people off, but you only can do so much. If you can manage, cost of overhead, of electricity and telephone, internet, natural gas, your waste, your printer and copier lease, your uniforms, whatnot, all the things that we focus on. People don't think that they can manage those expenses, but we point out that they can. So, there might be more opportunities for me in the future as, the tightening comes and people see, I don't see the price of gasoline or oil coming down and natural gas coming down anytime soon, just based on current policy. So not to be political, not making a value judgment, it's a fact. Since the new administration has been in there, we've added more than $1 to the cost of a gallon of gas. I just got my electric bill for my air conditioning for the summer is one of the highest ones I've seen since maybe 2008, the last time we had, similar situations. So again, hopeful that inflationary pressure, while not good for people, will drive some customer business to us.
In your business, Lou, and I've had conversations with other P3 folks over the last few months. One of the things I find interesting was if you would have asked me 15 months ago, I would have thought there would have been a huge demand for the service you guys offer, right? Because we, as business owners, we were scrambling to grab cash. Like, where can we save money? Where can we hang on to our, the cash on hand, right? And then, that was relieved for the most part for a lot of people, and for me included, when you had the PPP options, right? And so, like, all of a sudden, this urgent need kind of went away because it's like, oh, I have this cash on hand. And in our markets, we had the PPP money and we saw an increase in demand. And so it was kind of a good scenario for us. But, as that sort of dwindles down, Lou, and businesses no longer have that prop up, I mean, do you think there will be an increase in businesses like realizing, oh, my market's changed, now I need to realize how to cut costs and add back to the bottom line? So this brings us kind of to our next part of the conversation, and what is it that you're spending your time on now? What are you focusing on? And Joe, for you, if you don't mind telling us kind of what you're spending your time on, but also how, as a small business owner who's busy doing a lot of things, how much time are you doing cost analysis and are you looking at your financials, and how much of that is part of your day, or should you're in control of it? It should be a big part, but you're probably busy with other things.
Yeah, I try to review a lot of my costs like weekly, as far as because prices have been changing like crazy. Our chemical cost has like doubled since last year. So I spend a lot of time looking at chemical costs. We've had trouble even just sourcing chemicals. Like my main supplier, sometimes I can't get what I need from them. I have to go get it somewhere else. And that's been a real challenge for the last couple of months. So, but the other part, the biggest part right now is accounts payable. Just stay on top of my accounts receivable, make sure I'm getting paid. Because when you have so many accounts, someone might get by a month, and then all of a sudden 2 months, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell's going on? And you're so busy working that you forget about, getting paid. And then when you find out you're pretty far behind, it's hard to have that conversation. And sometimes it's tough. So that's where I spend a lot of my time right now.
Lou, I think I know the answer to this question because you've hit on it a few times. Where are you spending your time right now?
Well, I'll get specific. I've been targeting schools and towns mostly because of the very reason that I mentioned before. The people that work in those towns know that they're not the caliber of the CFO of Bank of America, and they're usually understaffed, and they deal with pretty large sums of money. And the only way they can raise revenue is to raise taxes on people, which is never popular, regardless of what party is in power. People don't want their taxes raised. You school the local taxes. And I live in an area where they're quite high and people are sensitive. So I have had some success in that area. And they're if the town or the school district is, fairly large, then there's a lot of potential to make some good money for P3 and for myself. So I've been focused on that area. But, as far as expenses of running the business, that was one of the reasons I was attracted to P3. There is no expense. I'm looking at the screen of probably the biggest expense I had, this high-powered HP laptop. So, but schools especially are, they're good they have a lot of printers and copiers. They also have a lot of e-waste, which is one of the areas that we do. It's a new area for us. But, schools turn over that equipment, every year, every 2 years, and a lot of times they don't know what to do with it. So we have a business relationship with an e-waste company that can actually turn an expense into a small profit center, because some of those machines, if as refurbished, are pretty valuable. So if you can buy them in bulk, the school can make a couple of dollars. A lot of entities are actually paying to have that stuff hauled off. And then you have the problem of the data wipe on them. You got to be certified to do the data erasure on those machines. So, yeah, those areas. I mean, manufacturers are great, but it seems like it's a closed industry. People don't return your calls. They don't respond to your emails. I have a very tough time getting any traction with anyone in manufacturing. So, but, Farron will tell you the biggest hit that they had that really got their business flourishing was with a group of Sonic restaurants, a big Sonic franchise. I don't know if it was in Arkansas or in that area, where there were like 75 restaurants in that franchise, and they just did waste. And they saved them a boatload of money, and P3 was off and running. So, yeah, it's even though manufacturing seems to be the best, some of the other industries, I try to target franchise groups all the time. Haven't had any success yet, but I target them. I had conversations with Duck Donuts franchise person that I met through LinkedIn, but still haven't been able to nail it down.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. So that is the end of the podcast. So I appreciate you guys taking some time to have a conversation with us. And Joe, I hope the Jack and Coke